Welcome back. It is Saturday, December 23rd in the NBA. My 5 favorite picks are on the way. If we go 5-0 today, I'm giving away $200. Just hit that subscribe button. You could potentially be $200 richer at the end of the day. But let's recap how we did yesterday. Not a great day. A 1-3 day. Let's talk about it. We had that Nicholas Claxton 10 plus points, Jokic 10 plus rebounds, same game parlay. They got it done pretty easily. But then, man, some bad beats in here. OG Anunoby over 12.5 points. The man had 12 points with like 6 minutes remaining in the third. Attempted a couple more shots, just did not get it done. We had that Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo same game parlay, missed by, I believe, 2 Hero assists. He didn't get a single assist in the second half, and 2 Bam points. And Mikal Bridges is still broken. The man cannot buy a bucket. I guarantee you today, since I'm not riding with Bridges, he probably drops like 25 points, and I'll just be sitting back like looking at the box score and saying, gosh, why is it always like this? But it is what it is. We're going to move on and dive into today's picks. Seemed like a lot of people really struggled with yesterday's Friday slate, and it feels like the last few Friday slates have been a little bit weird in terms of the outcomes. But it's Saturday. Let's dive into the picks. We do have a Saturday NFL video for best bets. We've been on a scorching run in the NFL, 8-1 over the past, couple games. So definitely take advantage of that. There's only 2 games on in the NFL. They're both later on this afternoon. Go check it out. That video was posted yesterday evening. So go check it out. We got 2 picks, one in each of the games for NFL. I really like it. We'll also have some other NFL videos live for Sunday today. So you'll see probably our parlays video be live later on this afternoon. We'll probably have a best bets video live, I don't know, soon-ish. Either way, stay tuned for that. Those videos are on the way. There's also a second channel video for you all to check out, a day in Vegas with me and my dad. You'll definitely enjoy that video, one of the favorite ones that we posted. But there's a bunch of free squares, all that stuff, deposit match offers if you're new, all that stuff's in the description. Let's dive into the picks. So we got 5 of them. That's what you came for. The first one, Cade Cunningham over 23.5 points, minus 115 on Bet365. Now, I was going between Cade's points and his points plus assist line. Now, the points plus assist line, if I'm not mistaken, was 31.5. Obviously, we know Cade's capable of 10 assist type games. However, I just feel like this is a better game for him to score points. Last game or last 2, really only averaging like 9.5 potential assists, which is not enough to warrant me to take an up and 8 where you would need 9 assists for it to make sense to take the points plus assists. However, I really do like Cade Cunningham to put the ball in the basket. And as we've talked about, the Pistons stink. They absolutely stink. They have lost 25 straight games, and they're going for the single season record, which is 26. They'll tie it today if they lose. Now, no one on the Pistons, and I can guarantee this, no one in the NBA wants to be a part of a record of record-setting losing streak. 26 straight games would be ridiculous. Well, I'm not saying they beat the Nets today. I'm pretty confident Cade Cunningham is going to go out there and try his best because they've been trying to play him so they can get a win. And honestly, it would not be surprising if they beat the Nets. I am not too high on this Nets team. While they do have, wins and they kept the game close yesterday against the Nuggets, would not surprise me, honestly, if the Pistons somehow pulled off a victory. They play the Nets the next 2 games. But let's talk about Cade. Last 2 games have been trying to get a win, and Cade's been trying his best. He scored 43 and 28 points on 24 and 22 field goal attempts. Now, he's played a ton of minutes, 44 and 39 in these last 2 games. Look, like I said, they're trying to buy a win. Monty Williams and this Pistons coaching staff does not want to be a part of a losing streak like this. And while it was, all fun and games when they got to 20, 22, 23, when you're closing in on the NBA record, yeah, you really don't want that to happen. So they're going to put Cade out there a ton, and he's going to face the Nets like I talked about. And this is a pretty good matchup. In his last 2 versus Brooklyn, 26 and 34 points. Don't read too much into those. That was in 2021 and 2022. But over the really what you need to read into, last 15 games, Nets allowing the 3rd most points per game, 2 point guards at 28.71. Given this guy's going to play a lot of minutes tonight, pretty confident he can fire up the ball. And we saw Jamal Murray have a great game last night. And I just think that we'll see Cade get back to, firing the ball up. I mean, he's hit this over in 3 straight. Cade has, 13 games this season with 20 or more shots. He's over this line in 9 of 13 such games. I know this line went up, but I think the guy's getting back to his 38 to 40 something minutes a night, and they really need him in this big game. It would be a Christmas miracle if they could pull off a win, and I think they're going to try their best to get Cade to come through. So give me his over 23.5 points. I think he plays a ton of minutes, shoots a ton, and I like the matchup actually against Brooklyn. Even though Mikal Bridges is a good defender, that really doesn't stop the point guards from going off. Now my second pick is going to be a guy that, I won't lie, I'm a little bit impartial to this guy, but I really like him, and I like this line for him. Over 29.5 points plus rebounds for Victor Wembanyama, which is currently minus 125 on DraftKings. Now, I would take this at 30.5. Truth be told, I loved his individual lines at points at 18.5 and rebounds at 11.5, but I'll just take the combo stat here. I mean, there's a realistic possibility Wembanyama could go out there and get 15 points, but also 15 rebounds. So I like the points plus rebounds here. Don't actually mind his PRA line too. If you get that, if the difference between the points and rebounds and PRA is only 3, definitely would look at that PRA line because he's been averaging a good amount of assists. But let's talk about his points and rebounds because since being moved to the center position 6 games ago, Wemby averaging 17.2 points per game and 14 rebounds per game, good for 31.2 points plus rebounds. Now you look at those games, 41, 33, 43, 28, 30, and 12 points plus rebounds, going over in 4 of 6. One of those misses with 28. Now, Wembanyama coming off a string of duds. Now, I can't necessarily blame him a ton of the blame. However, last game he did get benched. Popovich really didn't like what he saw out of him on the defensive side, and he basically got benched 22 minutes. Only saw 8 field goal attempts. Now, I imagine a guy like Wembanyama, very prideful in his work, he's going to go out there and give it his all. And I also know the Spurs team comprised of a lot of young players. Now, you might be like, oh, so that doesn't really matter. However, I am very confident. I've seen Jeremy Sohan on social media. He's been chirping LeBron James before on social media. I'm pretty confident he's seen all the things that him and his teammates have seen where they're just not getting the ball to Wembanyama. He's wide open. And that's why, honestly, I really would love if this, and I'm sure Spurs fans would love if they got a real point guard one of these days, because Wembanyama's wide open sometimes down low, and they are not getting the rock to him. People are pulling clips and posting them, and that started a lot in the last few games. And I think they're going to find a way to get the ball down low to Wemby. I mean, we know how talented Wembanyama is when he gets the field goal attempts. He's at 13 or fewer shots in 3 straight, only 8 shots last game. The color me shocked if they do not get the ball to him early and often in this game. He just is such a big mismatch on the offensive side of the court, and it's a great matchup for him against the Mavericks, a team that allowed the 4th most points per game, 7th most rebounds per game to centers. They also allow the 4th most points per game in the paint. It's a team that they have a lot of guys on the injury report, no doubt about that, but it's a team that just cannot stop guys in the paint, and Wemby's going to be open, and it's not like you have to find a tight pass, just throw it up, and he'll be able to go up there and get it, and lobs, dunks, all this stuff. He's been wide open, and they're not getting the ball to him. I just would be surprised if they don't find ways to get the ball to Wembanyama tonight. It's just that those guys have been on social media within the last 24, 48 hours since their last game. They've seen them getting roasted alive because they're missing him. I just think they get the ball early to him, and I think that he'll absolutely dominate this matchup. We saw his first ever game was against Dallas. He only had 20 points plus rebounds in 23 minutes, 9 shots in that game, 5 of them from 3. Then the next game they adjusted, started to get the ball to him down low. I really think he feasts. If they don't feast and they don't get the ball to him, something went wrong and they're going to get roasted again on social media. I just think they have I'm not betting this just because I think they saw those comments. I just am betting it because I think if Wembanyama, this is a perfect matchup for him to bounce back and to dominate. But I also just think his teammates are going to find ways to get the ball to him. This is just too good of a matchup, and I just think they have to. And they plain out have to. And he's wide open. Got to get the ball to your best player. Now, my third play is going to be a guy that we've taken many, many, many times before, and we love him. It's Alperen Sengun of the Houston Rockets, over 22.5 points plus assists. Now, this was one of our money glitches a few weeks ago. I mean, really just a couple games ago. Kind of had a down, couple weeks because he played the Grizzlies, a team he really struggles against. But look, we're back to playable numbers. I mean, they were making this like 28.5. Too high, but 22.5. Count me in. Last 25 games, basically all this season, he's averaged 20 points per game, 5.1 assists per game. That's good for that's pretty good. That's 30.1. But he's at, or not 30, 25.1. He has had 23 PAs, hitting this over in 19 of the last 25. 3 of his misses, like I said, came against the Grizzlies, a team he really struggled against, but he did have 27 points plus assists versus New Orleans, who he once again plays today. Now, Sengun and the Rockets are on a back-to-back. You don't love taking that, but we have a lot of teams on back-to-backs today. And I honestly argue they really aren't technically on a back-to-back. They barely played yesterday. I mean, Sengun played 25 minutes. They smoked the Mavericks, and you saw him have 25 points plus assists in those games. Now, you have seen his minutes kind of go up and down. I don't really have a great explanation for it. I think a lot of it comes down to the matchups, and the Rockets have played some teams like the Hawks, who really didn't want to play Clint Capella a ton. They played on Onyeka Okongwu, so they really didn't have a traditional center out there where it's like, all right, we need Sengun's size to kind of match up with the guy, and tonight they'll have to do that against Jonas Valanciunas. So he's a traditional center. They play, Zeller right after him, so they're going to kind of need a bigger body out there to match up with those guys, box him out and whatnot. So I think Sengun gets back to playing 30 plus minutes. If he plays that, the hit rate's probably around like 90% for him getting this done. So I really like Sengun. Not a big analysis for him. Just think that's way too low of a line for Sengun. Over 22.5 points plus assists, minus 105 on PointsBet. Individual line, take his points. Now, my fourth play is an under. Yep, an under. And if you want to fade any pick here and you're like, Austin, I'm fading, this is the one. Because I swear our last few unders have just turned the guy into Michael Jordan. And while I'm not saying this guy honestly could become Michael Jordan, he is a shooting guard. But I am going to keep firing off the unders. I know it has been the last few have just been L's. And people, honestly, if I lose an over, probably don't get a ton of comments saying, hey, bad read. I lose an under, 3 million comments come in, and that's just kind of the nature of taking unders because no one likes to take them. And if people are tailing the picks, they obviously don't love losing on an under. But I really like this one today. Enough of the dilly-dallying. Who are we fading? Desmond Bane under 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists, minus 113 on FanDuel. Now, individual line, I was so close to pulling the trigger on his under 26.5 points. That was plus 120 on DraftKings, a great number. I just think there is a chance, and my luck is that he would go over 26.5 points and with like 27 or 28 and soar under the PRA. That would be my luck, especially for an under. So I'll take all the stats here because I honestly think this line is way too high for Desmond Bane. And I know it is a decent matchup, and we'll talk about that in a second, but 37.5, too dang high. Now, Bane this season averaging 34.4 PRAs per game. He is under this in 15 of 26 games. Now, that is including a lot of games without Ja Morant. But you look at Bane, he has a 26 and 43 PRA since Morant's return. We obviously know this is Ja Morant's team. When he's on the court, the ball is probably going into his hands. Now, obviously, this is a place-up spot. First, the Hawks. The Hawks are a team that do not play a ton of defense, play pretty fast. And they actually are a pretty decent matchup for shooting guards in terms of, getting some kickouts, and you'll probably have some open shots. But I still think this line's way too high. I mean, last game you saw Bane, 43 PRAs. He attempted 26 shots. If Desmond Bane shoots 26 times tonight, hit the cap, we're going to lose. That's probably going to happen. But Jaren only shot 10 times. Morant only 16 times. You also saw him convert 7 of his 8 potential assists, 6 of his 10 potential rebounds. I mean, the guy was really efficient. Well, technically not great efficient because he only shot 11 for 26, but had a ton of volume, and then he converted the rebounds and assists. But I just don't see him consistently having a ton of potential assists, a ton of potential rebounds. And I just don't see him, getting 26 shots every given night. I think he's more in that 18 to 20 range. And I think this line's just way too high. I mean, Ja Morant's line is only like 42.5. Desmond Bane's right next to that line. I just think this is way too high, and I like the under in points. I like the under in rebounds plus assists, so I'm going to combine them all together. Sure, the Hawks are not a good defense. I know that, but they're also on the road, and this is a guy in Desmond Bane. Technically has shot better on the road before, but this season, I just think that at the end of the day, this is way too high of a line for a guy that I don't really, he's good. I think Desmond Bane's great. I just think this line's too high with Morant active. I mean, I didn't go back and track how he does with Morant, but if you won the bet, it's probably about an 85 to 90% hit rate when Morant is out there in terms of hitting this under. Now, granted, that was with other guys playing. They don't have the most depth on their team, but I'll fade to Desmond Bane. If you go off, I can promise you one thing. I will not take an under again this year. We'll take it in, technically 2023. We'll maybe take some in January, but no more if this one does not hit. We'll take the under on Desmond Bane's PRA line. Now, my fifth play, final one of the day, 2-leg same game parlay in the earliest game of the day. So this one is at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, super early, very easy pivot though. Let's hope it's 1-0. Hopefully we start the day 1-0 if you're watching this video after the fact, because Knicks versus Bucks, taking Jalen Brunson over 24.5 points and Giannis Antetokounmpo 20 plus points, minus 110 on DraftKings. This is very similar to a few weeks ago. We had Paul George returning to Indiana. We took Paul George's over in points, which his line was 22.5. Then, very similar to Brunson in this equation, his line's 24.5. Although the line is a little bit too juiced for me. It's like minus 135, minus 150. Most books are at 25.5 or getting up to there. I like the 24.5 points line here, but I just do not give out minus 135, minus 140 plays. I just don't believe in that. So I added the leg that I felt most confident in hitting, Giannis, 20 plus points. I like him at 25, but obviously I'd rather take the 20 plus and not try to chase better value at 25 because the Knicks are a good defense. Granted, Mitchell Robinson projected out for the year. Still do think Giannis could score 25, but we'll talk about that in a second. Now, crazy stat of the day, though, for all the people out there, the Milwaukee Bucks have not played a road game in December. Yeah, 9 straight home games. They've not played a road one. So would not surprise me if the role players do not show up for Milwaukee on the road in New York. Now, obviously, people like to play in the New York City, the bright lights, Madison Square Garden. Still do think these guys struggle. But Giannis, if they're struggling, he's just going to be barreling down. And he has 20 points in 23 of 27. Some bad games here and there. 25 plus in 16 of his last 20 games as well. 20 points, though, in 23 of his last 24 versus the Knicks. He typically shows up when the lights are the brightest. But in my opinion, I am like 99.99% confident Giannis scores 20 points tonight. I'm about 85% confident he scores 25, which is why I brought him down to 20. 25 plus was like plus 110, plus 115 on DraftKings. You could take it. I think Giannis scores 25, but I'd rather not lose because of Giannis not scoring points. I'd rather lose because of Brunson, the main guy of this parlay, not scoring. And we've seen Brunson really dominate this matchup before. His last 3 versus Milwaukee, 44, 45, and 24 points, attempting 30, 30, and 22 field goal attempts. Last game did finish on the hook versus them, 0 for 5 from 3, 4 for 7 from the free throw line. Not great, but we've talked about it before. Take your guards against the Bucks because they can't guard guards. Brunson, He's going to do his thing. He's coming off a bad game too. I really just think he gets to his spots, knocks down his shots. That's the name of the game. That was a bar. It's a pretty good bar. But at the end of the day, this is just the Brunson show at home. This is a team that cannot defend. You got Brook Lopez dropping a ton, and you just got Jalen Brunson getting to his spots and knocking down those shots. So I have to keep saying it. But Randall also in that game where he scored 24 went off for like 40 and shot like 100% from the field. So this is just Brunson's matchup. This is just a great spot for him. I know he wrecked us a couple days ago, but I'm not too worried about that. He normally bounces back. Brunson 25 plus points over 24.5. And then I took the safest leg I thought, which was Giannis 20 plus points. It's minus 110 on DraftKings. That's my fifth and final play of the day. A reminder, there are a couple other videos live. Saturday, NFL Best Bets video somewhere on the screen here. We also are Vegas in real life, Vegas with my dad. Check that out at that video. It's linked on the screen. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. I'll have technically no NBA games tomorrow on Sunday, but I will have some picks and probably the video out sometime for Christmas Day. We'll post that tomorrow, and we'll have some other NFL videos dropping today. So when those are live, I'll link them on the screen as well. You guys have a wonderful Saturday, a happy holidays, and I'll see you guys in the other videos leading up to Christmas. I'll see you then. Peace.